foot, cross over, step kick, cross over, step kick, cross over. Arms are gonna go opposition of the kick, so we get a little counter body. We're gonna twist open with this leg, and then arms go the opposite way, and then let them slide back over. Slide back over, wow. And switch, and switch, and switch, and switch. All right, we want a good like stretch right here on the kick part. So instead of here, we're gonna be more like this, right? And then cross, that's your release. So you have a stretch and a release, and a stretch, release, stretch, release, stretch, release, stretch, release. It's like a 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6.
Okay.
Alternate solo movement. We're gonna do arms same way as the leg. And we're not really gonna have this stretch component anymore. So it's gonna just be, we're like staying in this nice Charleston posture the whole time. So both hands on the same leg and switch it down, bring it up, swing them, up, swing them, up, swing them, up, swing them. What up, what up, hey, hey-oh, ah, like a cat. Let's talk first about a stylization. So if we're doing it as a stylization, then what has to happen up here in the connection?
Nothing.
Nothing! Yeah. Nothing different. We don't want to disrupt the connection. So I'll go first.
Okay.
So we're swinging out. Okay, and I can use it here, here, and because, yeah, that one too. Okay, so because when we're doing a stylization, we have to use the first solo movement that goes counter body, top and bottom. Why? So we kind of need that stretch release that happens at the beginning of swing out. We also, that's our normal movement, right? If we're doing this, or if we're doing this, it's all counter body. Okay, good. So if I chose this one as a stylization, what happens to my partner? They're gonna feel it, right? They're definitely gonna feel it if I'm like, hey, hey. Okay, where if I can do my, this way, it nets out to 0 because we're like this, it nets out to 0. So partner doesn't feel it. Okay, so if we do it on a stylization, we're gonna do 7 and 8, 1 and 2. I'm gonna break it down for the falls first. Where to do it? 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6. I'm gonna have 7 and 8 away from my partner. 1 and 2, 3 and 4. And that 1 and 2 takes the place of your twist or rock step or walking in or whatever. 1, 2, 3 and 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1 and 2. Can I do it again? There we go.
And I don't feel anything. As opposed to she's doing the arms the opposite way she's kicking. So I can kind of feel that she's correcting for this. So it leads, it's the same thing. On 7, 5, 6. I'm throwing my arms that way, but I'm kicking this way. 7, 8, 1. So you'd never feel anything because it's always
it nets back to 0, so we keep the arms in the middle. So we can keep that center point in the middle. Really important when you're doing it as a stylization to know what technique the leader is choosing. So if I have a leader like Brandon who does solo movement, where like on his 1 and 2 he's always using a stretch release, that means on my 7, 8, 1 and 2, I can't pull myself forward, which I see the falls doing a lot of. You're doing a 7, 8, 1 and 2, and coming in. I can't do that because now I'm not following quite what he's asking for, because he's asking for a stretch release on 1 and 2, and I'm doing a charging in. Does that make sense? Okay. So I have to do 7 and 8, hold back. That way we can still have that arm swing out of 2 into the triple step. So let me show that. So if we're swinging out, 3 and 4, 5, 6, I'm gonna have here, here, woo! I still need that nice technique out of the 2. So be really careful that you don't come in. Now, if you have a leader though who always practices a more like momentum-based approach where he's bringing me forward on 1 and 2, then I would have to, even though it's a stylization, I'm gonna be bringing it in probably on both of them. Does that make sense? Okay.
Same for leads, just make sure you don't change when you move for that kick ball change. So 1 and 2 and 3. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk now about leading and following it. So we have 2 different solo movements. They both work for lead and follow, depending on what move we're doing or really what we want out of our partner. So if we're talking about a swing out, like the 7 and 8, 1 and 2, or if we're just staying in closed position, so we want to use that same solo movement we were just doing, which is counter body. So if we're in closed, which is a really easy place to lead these, then we can just alternate back and forth. All right, if we're in open position, same thing. So you can see the counter body arms, right? So it's not too hard to lead, and if the follow has good movement as well, it's not too bad to follow.
So leads, I was noticing a lot of you guys were doing this without twisting. So make sure that you're leading this, even if your arms aren't moving, you should be moving your body. Like it's not this. This is completely different. So
It definitely has that twist,
really
even in the legs. So here, right? Twist it, twist it, twist it. And the more you get that twist, the easier that is to follow. So let's start here with 2 hands, and then twist open and cross, twist and cross, twist and cross. Let's start there. So this move, scissor kicks, comes from a tap move. So it was originally a tap step, and the way we get these arms is really from the tap move. So instead of a kick, it's a shuffle and cross. So I'm just showing you that so you kind of know the roots of it, and that's where we get that like twisting action. Really hard to do the tap step with this alternate one. So that's more of a jazz approach, and we'll show you how that works in a second. Then the second thing I want to remind you, this movement when we're doing the counter body has that stretch, release. So twist, but also like check this out. We have like, we're both doing this stretch. So we get stretch across here in these arms, and then release it. Stretch it, release it. So it's a twist, but it's also like that stretch. You're gonna feel it in the fingers on the side that you kick on. You'll feel that stretch in the fingers, stretch in the fingers, stretch, release it, stretch, release it. Okay, so we've got it with 2 hands. Now take it to closed position, same exact thing. You're gonna feel the stretch differently now because you're in closed. So, but I still feel both like the stretch part, the like extension, and also the twist. All right, a little bit easier to feel it there because the lead can use this hand. Since Brandon's trying to still be like authentic with the solo movement, I feel a lot in this hand on my back or on my waist. So try it closed as well. So I've seen this move done like in jazz routines where they take out a bit of the pulse and make it more like a hop, which is cool, but not necessarily like a scissor kick at the root level. And like, tell me what happens to the pulse if I do that. Right. Okay. So instead, step kick allows that like pulse that we're used to in our Lindy Hop. Step kick and go and kick and go. Step kick. Separate that step and the kick so you continue the pulse throughout instead of killing it.
I was gonna ask you guys what you thought would change if you were doing this versus just leading yourself with like, flat arms movement. Like what would this cause?
What happens to the connection? So if we do that in and out one, which is like this one, we get a lot more tension, right? And you add a compression element. Did you notice?
Yeah.
Okay, and what else? It travels, right? It like you want to go forward and back. So that's why you don't need that one. You can lead it that way, but it's really unnecessary. So if we're just staying in place in open, this one is much nicer because we can use a stretch and release. All right, so when would we want to use the other one? Because we can lead it that other way. I'm automatically creates more tension, right? Tension and compression. So when do we want more tension? Can we say like for a dynamic purpose? So something that's going to be like, wow, bam. Okay, so that would be good for that. If we actually want to make it travel, then we want to use that. Yeah. Ooh. So, all right, so we're traveling. We need the kind of need the in and out. Also creates, because we're not doing like a stretch release, we get a little bit of like a tilting action that happens. So it's really easy to lead when we're already traveling. Much better to use this one. It actually doesn't work well at all to use the other solo movement.
Yeah, the tilt is really important because if you're just doing this,
your follow doesn't feel it. Now, if Brandon wanted to do it as a stylization there, he would want to use the other one. But because he wants to lead it, we're going to go back to this one because we're traveling. With this version, when we're partnering it, we end up getting, in the fingers, it's like a Are you feeling that?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So in a circle, with the circle, you get a right? Now, let's talk about in a swing out. So instead of a stylization, Brandon now wants to lead that 7, 8, 1, and 2. So we could use the counter body one, but let's say we want more dynamics and we want more movement, more traveling. So we're going to instead choose this version. So we get kind of like it's a different connection, but we get a cool feel from it. 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, and 2. So you can see like it goes in and out, or out and in rather. Out and in, out
so
and in.
Getting pulled in. The pull at the end of that really helps with this because you want to move there.
It does. So we're going to choose to make our partner travel out and in, out and in. So we get like a cooler look from it. Where this one is like a net zero where we stay in place. So really important if you're going to lead that type of solo movement that you get the first one. Like Cole and I were just talking about it. It's really easy, like people have no problem with the second one. It feels very natural because it feels a little bit like a stretch release with that traveling, but the first one is hard, but really it's the first one that matters. If you miss that one, then we didn't really lead follow it so much as capped on later. Out and in, really on that first scissor kick, we need all of the movement on the first one. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's the one that matters, right?
And I kind of help that if you were to start tilting a little bit early. Before I get there, I'm going to go, ooh, and then I'm right there. It helps like kind of signal that you're about to do something.
Totally, I like that a lot. Let's take the solo movement. There's a great move called the closing door. So a lot of you, when I've rotated to you, I've told you like more tension. But really what it is it's this motion that we're missing because that really creates that tension on the side. So we're both trying to pull the arms in and then we get that great tension out of it. And because we have that like, it's like more of a tension push or a tension pull, that way we can just like swing that partner behind us. With a stretch release type of connection, we travel equal distances, right? The lead and follow, because our movement should always match or be equal. Now in a tension-based movement, like this one, is it equal? No, it's not. So when we're relying on tension, a lot of times what happens is the leader puts that energy or tension into the follow, so the follow can travel. So like when I'm leading this one, can I borrow you, Lexi? Yeah. We're gonna face this way. So when I'm leading this one, I'm more focusing on the tension part, not on traveling. Okay, so if I have here, what I'm really focusing on here is providing the tension for Lexi to move. Tension, pull, tension, pull, tension, pull, right? So it's less about that equal movement and really it's about creating that tension so that she gets to travel, okay? Now that's not always the case, like tension can do a lot for us. Like we could use a lot of tension to both move, but A little bit harder when we're repeating it. So for the leads, we also don't really want to twist to catch our partner. That's kind of a different move then. Instead of doing our this, that's more of a this, which is like a weird hybrid, like we almost want to go back to that one. So if I focus on staying straight, that actually lets me have more tension in my body, which I need. So like I'm like that, catching. And her comment was she didn't feel like she was getting enough to travel as far as she needed to the other hand. And her theory was that the leads were more like just gorilla shaping and then like waiting for her to come. Like that. But what it really is leads, remember this dance, the elbows are down. So it's actually this shape you need right here. So when I'm going to catch her, my elbow is like locked in, down. And the more down you get it, the easier it's gonna be to send her. Okay, so that was my first comment. If you're too far out here, it's not gonna happen, it's not gonna work very well. No matter how much tension you have, you can't get her out there, right? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3. So
this is super important. These where you come in and kind of lead that forward and back. Because if you don't, it does get lost in there.
It does. So
Yeah.
you have to maintain that like tension, out and in and out and in. Outside of that, think of it as like we're rotating in a circle doing scissor kicks, going from open to closed. Back to open and closed and open and closed while doing that. Think of it that way instead of trying to do swing out technique. Because you'll probably, like, doesn't really work if you're trying to think about like all of your swing out technique. Just think of it as scissor kicks with that type of connection, going in a circle, open to close. Does that make sense? Here, 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 open. Oh, so to and open, to and closed, to and open, to and closed, while rotating in a circle. So since we're not using a counter body motion or stretch release connection, we have to catch, we're traveling now, so we need to catch the closed position before the compression happens. So that you're going into closed and then stopping it once it's in closed. But the other thing to remember, we're only using this technique when we are traveling or rotating. So if we're trying to stay in place, it's going to feel like overkill and we will get stuck. So we have to catch it and we have to start rotating, right? So we're going to catch it in close, but also start the rotation. So show that first one. So if we're in open, we can't just do like a normal swing out here and then catch it later. We got to catch it here. Okay. So regular kickball change. Regular kickball change, similar to scissor kick. What would your solo movement be? Because like usually we want to think about counter body, right? Or on the right side. Oh, there we go. On the right side or on the left side. So counter body. So that would be your stylization, right? If we were trying to do it as a stylization. So for follows, we often will do that kickball change here and doesn't disrupt the connection, or if you do it here, it also shouldn't disrupt the connection. Now let's apply it to our scissor kick that we just did. What's the second solo movement we could use if we want to travel or have more dynamics? So we're going to use more tension. What would it be? Yeah, you guys got it. So it's this. Jazzercise. All right, so if Brandon wants to then like lead a kickball change, like let's say I have a swing out, or for the 1 and 2, I guess, instead of a rock step, so we could do but we're going to get that travel in, right? It's like stretch, whoa, okay. Got it. Like I almost fall into the Ballchange part.
Yeah, both arms. It should propel you forward.
It does.
A lot of that, so.
Yeah. Let's say we're in open and we want to do repeating kickball change. So now we can't really do that travel in. So instead we get like, we're going to get that compression on the way in and it happens really fast. So he's like, go away, no stop, no stop, no stop. Try it first with 2 hands. It's a lot easier to feel the out and in, okay? And then you can like translate that to one arm. Very much just like stable arm, so that your free arm doesn't get to do much because it's like so immediate. Out and in.
It just hangs out. Two hands. If you're really just lead distance side by side, you can't do the normal like cross body thing because that means you're leading something on your right side that's opposite of your left side. So I would be leading her to do the opposite of what I'm doing. So the only way to do it would be to use both arms, you know, to like a moving one. Yeah. So 1 and 2.
So if we're in side by side, we have to use that.
Yeah. So let's see what we go. Do but not do.
All right. So both arms are going together, or you alternate footwork like you would do for Drunken Charleston, and then you can use. So if you switch to your right foot.
Oh yeah. So if we were here.
Then we can use regular
do.
solo body.
So then that's the proper footwork.
Yep.
So you have to be on the same foot. It's like Shorty George.
Okay, here's another Shauna special for you. Open to close. We go back together in our circle. Another one. Leaders turn, closing door. Okay. So it has a 2 in the circle. Third one is the leader's turn. I wanted to do it once with the do.